Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Post Point Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about if social media is good or bad for you. So what is your stance?
I personally try to avoid social media. I think it's kind of poisoning in a way. Like, it's an actual scientific thing where it releases a certain amount of endorphins into your mind if you see, like, someone likes your post or likes your picture. So it's almost like it gives you a high in a way, which is a fake high. Because it's just like, the more likes I have, the happier I feel is basically what it's doing. So for me, that's always just kind of like, I don't know, not the healthiest thing, which is why I try to avoid it. I definitely don't think all of it is bad. Like, I'm sure, as you'll bring up, that some businesses, or in order to have, like, a job, for some places, you almost need a social media to connect with other businesses. But in terms of recreational activity, I think it's bad. That was long, but that's me.
I agree with a lot of stuff you said, but I also think it does have its beneficial value to it. I've kind of worked with people who do like videography or photography for weddings and just kind of that kind of work that needs to be the way you need to put yourself out there is through social media. And I don't do that stuff professionally, but I do use my Instagram as a way to just put my photography out there. Same thing with my Facebook. Not only that, but I use it for just kind of like looking things up. I have a lot of movie news and photography stuff in my for stuff I follow on Facebook, so that's pretty much what my thing is filled with. I also have, I love animals, so I also have a lot of animal pages on there that, if I didn't have social media, I wouldn't be able to see all these little cute, tarantulas and snakes and stuff. But I do think it does have its beneficial value. As for just kind of like just used for fun, I think it can be, but it definitely, I think this is kind of a slippery slope because once you kind of go down that rabbit hole where you kind of use it as a way of feeling happy, you just kind of,
And it can be addictive, too.
yeah, you get in this weird addictive thing and you just kind of get mirrored into it and it just kind of becomes like, the only way you can really show happiness is through making a post about it or
Right.
posting a picture of what you're doing rather than just kind of just, like 20 years ago, that wouldn't really be a thing.
Or doing the same, like going off of that. I know some people that do something just so they can post about it, which to me is just, that shouldn't be the reason you go out to the restaurant, or that shouldn't be the reason you go on a lunch date with your friends. It's like, we have this friend, he's from the other side of the country, and he came over to visit us the other week, and basically he was so determined to see like one of the sites of Washington, Mount Rainier, where it kind of like obsessed his entire trip, and he was so determined to get perfect Instagram shots of Mount Rainier that it's pretty much all he would ever talk about. So it was just kind of like, calm down.
Yeah. I guess another thing, this is kind of branching off on a different conversation, but what do you think people who, for example, I'm going to use like maybe like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, whenever they do like kind of these events of charity and stuff and they film and post it on YouTube or social media saying like, oh, look at, I did this really nice thing. Do you think that kind of takes away from the initial doing of that nice thing? Like, yeah, at the end of the day, they did a nice thing, but it kind of feels like whenever you like film and just like throw it out there to the world, it just makes it seem like you're feeding your own ego in a way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I don't know the Logan Brothers as well.
The Paul brothers.
Yeah,
actually.
excuse me, the Paul brothers. That's how little I know them. But in that, I'm familiar with that situation type of thing. I feel as though it can become almost an egotistical way to feed the ego. Just like, hey, like just posting a picture even like, oh, I went to the charity the other day.
Yeah.
But it's like, why do you have to post about that?
Yeah. I do think
you were saying, it almost takes away from the like the selfless giving nature of it if you feel like you have to brag about it.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I want to go back kind of how businesses and whatnot use social media. I think it definitely is essential today to like, in order to promote your business, the way it's going to get the most eyes is through social media. A funny thing though is Frono's Photo. He's a YouTuber. He did a really cool kind of lecture out of college about photography. He did a lecture on photographers who were graduating that year, and he brought up something really cool. It's just like how he said like social media is essential, but you also, whenever you want to try to brand yourself and put yourself out there, you got to do things other people aren't doing. Which is funny because one of the examples that he talked about is he said like back in the day you would go knock on people's doors and whatnot, and now you promote yourself on social media, but in order to do something that other people aren't doing, he refers to going back and, knocking on people's door, giving them your business card, showing them your portfolio, like physically. So I do think, there's ways of working around the whole system of, social media. But at the same time, there's like, for the big shots out there with like, who are, like get the huge jobs for weddings and whatnot, people find them online and then they like pay to fly them out there to shoot their wedding and whatnot. So I do think it's just pros and cons. I feel like you can have it both ways, but definitely that I do think it's essential to marketing a business and whatnot.
It's also a lot more convenient to just get your face out there in
Oh
the
yeah,
business
definitely,
environment.
definitely. Also, I do think on the negative side though, do you think there should be like a restriction to social media? Because I do feel like social media in like a school, like high school setting is very unhealthy.
Yeah, I feel like especially in the high school setting or just the adolescent minds, it's like they're so sensitive anyway regardless. So it doesn't matter if you have social media or not. If pretty much like if you're going through the changes of puberty, you're going to be more self-conscious and like self-aware and probably more insecure about it, regardless of if you have social media or not. So if you just have that like platform of viewing other people that are probably going through the same thing that they're going through, but they're disguising it with like makeup and always going to the mall and always having fun, it definitely probably takes a bad toll in terms of like comparing oneself to others and that already like sensitive time.
Yeah, I agree. I never necessarily had that promise. So I just had my tight friend group and that was it. I was never a huge social media person in the sense of like, it's kind of where I went to go look at other people's lives and wish I had that. But I do see where you're coming from in the sense that like, you post your the highlight of your days or the highlight of your life moments.
And if that's all that
If that's all that's on there, then that's just kind of the normal.
yeah, exactly.
And that's all you're ever seeing. And then maybe someone who, isn't as financially,
All they see is you going on cruise ships
yeah.
and posting all of the good stuff.
Yeah. So I do think, I don't know, it's really hard because social media is such a free flowing platform. Like anyone could really.
It's also easy to be like anonymous on it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an easy way to just like download and then just create an account and then, you're just kind of off on your own there. For me, I typically, I don't know, I'm not huge into Facebook. Typically, the only thing I really do on Facebook is share stuff and we'll check in whenever I go see a movie. I do have Instagram. Instagram I typically just use for posting my photography stuff along with just like seeing like cute animals. And then I have Snapchat, but that's typically just like where I have a lot of group chats and like just talk to friends and whatnot. But yeah, I do try to limit my social media use. But at the same time, I don't feel like I have a problem with social media, so it's easy for me to like not get roped into that.
And definitely like compared to some other people I know, you don't have a social media addiction.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's like different for me. I just have more of like a not caring attitude about social media. Like I definitely think it's fun and all, but I know like there's a difference between fun over the internet and fun like when I'm hanging out with friends and we're going to go like hang out.
Right. And on that, for me, it kind of takes away from almost the organic chemistry of being with someone.
Yeah.
If they're so preoccupied of being like, I have to post this to my Snapchat story.
Yeah.
Which has happened a few times to me, and I'm just kind of like, I sit in the background as they have to pause and take a minute to just like update all of their different platforms, and it almost just takes away of like the I put effort forward to come here and see you, not you on your phone,
Yeah.
which is where I'm at.
So do you have like no social media at all?
Yep.
Oh. How do you feel?
Feel really good.
So what do you do when you're bored?
I read a book or I read the paper. New
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like one of the things for me is like kind of how I think about different aspects of my life is like, how would I feel if this just got taken away from me right then and now? Like, how would I feel like an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now? Definitely, I feel like if all social media got taken away from me, it would definitely take some getting used to. I feel like after a few days, I'd be fine though. But for me personally, if I'm ever bored, something that I like to do, but I've been doing recently, is just like whenever I close out work or something, I get off like at like 10 to midnight. I'll just kind of drive around with my camera and just look for things to take pictures of, because that's what I think is, that's what I really enjoy doing.
Productive.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, I think that today it's just so hard to imagine a world without social media. But it's really interesting to think about, 20, 30 years ago.
Nothing.
That's just how
there was
people
nothing.
lived. There was, yeah. I don't know. Do you think social media has affected kind of people's development and growing? Because I know with my ex, her little cousin Milo, he was always on video games or a tablet and like always watching YouTube and just all of that. And I remember when I grew up, I would just go outside and just like wait until like friends came out too, or knock on their door and ask if they can play,
Yeah. Definitely that's also how I grew up. It was just like, if there's nothing to do inside, then you play outside and hope someone comes and joins you. But nowadays, not necessarily even just social media, but just technology and how much more like available it is to younger people. I believe it's put us in the mindset of, if you don't get it fast enough, then it's not good enough, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that's sad, but I feel like it's happening. We're just in such a fast-paced, driven society where everyone's always comparing themselves to others through social media, or they're just so used to getting whatever they want when they want it at just like the tap of a finger, where it's like, if you grow up with that mentality, obviously you might have certain mindsets or views later on where basically I feel like if you grow up with that, then it puts you in the mindset of, I should always be comparing myself to others, or if it's not fast enough, then I'm not even concerned with it and I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember where I read it, but there was this one kid that their dad was saying goodnight to them one night, and instead of saying goodnight to their dad, they said, thanks, don't forget to subscribe, because they had been watching so much YouTube, they thought that's how you ended a conversation. And I was just like, oh.
Oh, here's interesting. Would you ever, like, at what age do you think, like, let's say you had kids, at what age would you, like, start to give them, like a smartphone or, like, a tablet and stuff like that?
I think it depends on the kid. If they need a phone for, like, safety reasons because they're at school all day long or they have to go somewhere on their own, then that's definitely one thing. But if it's, like, someone that's kind of usually always close by, probably as old as possible, I would try to just stave it off.
What about like at home? Like, when are you gonna give them a tablet to just like, like, oh, you're gonna go off over here and do something. You just need them to have. Like,
then you're gonna help Dad build some project for the bathroom. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a difficult one. I think it's such an easy out for parents to just be all like, here's a tablet.
Is.
Like, I'm gonna go do my thing now.
Which reminds me of something I just saw the other month. I was at the store and there was this mom and she had a little girl in her cart with her. And the little girl was just like, she was asking questions, she was engaging, she was saying hi to strangers, she was like, what's that? I want to know everything. And the mom looked exhausted and she basically said to us in passing as just kind of like a remark, she's like, I can't wait until we can afford another phone for her. And I was just like, but it's good. She's in her developing stages. She should be aware of the environment. You can't learn from the environment if you're always just like glued to a video game on the phone the whole time. Yeah,
it is interesting because I feel, especially for us, because the generation previous from us, they just grew up without any social media growing up until like they're in their 20s, 30s. For us, it was like in between, like smartphones and stuff didn't get big until like I was in middle school. And then so it was just like I grew up with my childhood without any of that stuff. And then
Right.
around when I got to like middle school is when, I started seeing a lot of kids, have iPhones and like all these other things, which is also really interesting growing up in this kind of period of where how schools kind of have to adapt to that now too, where a kid literally has a calculator in their pocket.
Right.
They can look up any question or anything in their pocket. And I think that was really interesting. And then when I got to high school, they were literally like having us check out iPads, which was really weird to me when I first got there. It was like they were like we're putting away the textbooks and now we're like just using an
Right.
iPad, which I can understand for the sake of just like instead of having like a bundle of textbooks, there's just like a little 2-pound tablet that has all the information that you would need on it.
Right.
But it is a definitely a significant step in innovation, whether you think it's good or bad,
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, before I got a smartphone, my sister and I shared a flip phone for, like, I don't
Not
know.
only did they have a flip phone, they shared it.
Yeah. I mean, calm down. But that thing was, like, ancient, and it still works now. I mean, we don't use it, but it's still working. And I'm just like, you go, Mr. Flip Phone, keep plugging on in life. But for us, that was what we used, and we only needed it to have, like, emergency phone calls, or if we needed to be picked up from somewhere, we would just use a flip phone. And for us, I think that was really beneficial because it was just a phone, pretty much. Like, it didn't have any access to anything else. It was just what we needed, and it was nothing else.
Something that you brought up that was really interesting was the fact of innovation going so fast. And that's something that I kind of struggled with too, so I literally just bought, like it's about a year ago now. I bought like a new phone. It was like the top of the line iPhone. I was like, sweet. And then the iPhone 11 came out. And then I was just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Now I don't have like the coolest one.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to cough up another $1,000 for a new one. So I still have the same one, but it's definitely weird and different because so many people adapt to it. Like the moment it came out, the new iPhone has like 3 lenses and it has that square look. I just started seeing everybody have that kind of
Right.
phone.
And everyone's
I'm
so
like,
fast to be
yeah.
the new one.
So I just settled off on just like, you know what, mine's fine. I'll just chill with it. But it definitely is that type of like the moment something new comes out, it kind of feels like you're
Everyone
just left.
jumps onto it.
It kind of just, and if you don't jump onto it, it just kind of feels like you're just left in the dust a bit. Just like,
So,
oh, okay.
yeah, for me, I had a Samsung J3 until like a week ago, which is, released in 2016. And I didn't get a new phone by choice. It died. Like, it hardcore died. I couldn't use it at all anymore, which is the only reason I would have gotten a new phone is if I could no longer use that. But I was just I was buying it the other week, and I was buying my new phone the other week, and the salesman was basically like, so what are you looking at? And I was like, well, I was thinking of this one or maybe this one. And he's like, no, you don't want that one. It's obsolete next year. So you might as well just get the other one. And I'm just like, well, if it's obsolete next year, why are you still selling it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird kind of thing. For me personally, especially like being in the PC world, like when I got my laptop, it was really good. It had great specs, 1070, 32 gigs of RAM and all that.
Don't know what that means.
And then literally 3 months later, NVIDIA announced their new graphics card lineup, which was like the next top of the line graphics cards. And then they just got implemented in all these other different laptops. And then the upgrade to my laptop came out like 5 months from when I bought it. So I'm like, wow, I could have just waited. But it was definitely just all like, especially in the PC world, like technology moves so fast. Like
So fast.
we're seeing now, specifically with hard drives, moving from hard drives to SSDs, which is more quicker memory. So a lot of people are adapting onto that. DDR5 RAM is like on its way, and just all these other different things. So it's just like, especially if you're in the PC world and you're trying to like keep up top with like all the new updated graphics cards and like RAM and all that.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Every year.
Yeah. So yeah, let us all know what you guys think about social media. How often do you guys use it? If it was taken away from you, how do you think you would react to it? And we'll see you guys all in the next video.